Imagine needing your passport to reach part of your own country. Not a metaphor. For one piece of the Sultanate of Oman, it's just how you get to work. This is Musandam. Locals call it the Norway of Arabia. It sits at the very tip of the Arabian Peninsula, guarding the narrow mouth of the Strait of Hormuz. It belongs entirely to Oman. But to drive there from the rest of Oman, you would have to leave the country first. And it gets stranger. Inside that disconnected piece of Oman is a second, smaller piece of Oman, completely surrounded by the UAE on all sides. And inside that piece, there's a village that belongs to neither. It belongs to a third government entirely. Farmers here irrigate fields that cross invisible lines they cannot see. Children play matches where the goalposts stand in two different countries. So how does a country end up owning a piece of itself it cannot walk to? The answer starts 300 years ago in a fight over the Gulf's mountains. This is the Ru'us al Jibal, the mountaintops. For centuries, no road crossed this terrain. The sea was the only way in or out. The people who lived here were the Shihuh, a tribal confederation known for carving their homes directly into the rock. Loyalty here was not to a map. It was to a sheik. In the 1600s, Portuguese traders realized whoever held this coastline controlled the strait. So they built a fort at Qasab to hold it. That fort still stands in Qasab today, a stone reminder that this peninsula has been fought over for its location, not its size, for 400 years. Persian forces held parts of this coast for a time too, before being pushed out in the 1740s by a rising power from the Omani interior. That power was the Al Said dynasty. By 1744, they controlled the Omani coast, and the tribes of Musandam swore loyalty to Muscat rather than any outside empire. But loyalty is not the same as control. Musandam's tribes kept far more independence than the rest of Oman ever did. The mountains made sure of that. In the 1800s and 1900s, the British arrived, signing treaties with Gulf sheikdoms to protect trade routes to India. They called this coastline the Trucial States. For a long time, the exact line through these mountains barely mattered. Almost nobody but the Shihuh ever needed to cross it. Then the 20th century brought oil, and suddenly, exact borders in the Gulf stopped being a formality and started being worth a great deal of money. By 1970, as neighboring sheikdoms prepared to unite into a new country, someone finally had to ask the tribes of Musandam directly which side they belonged to. The largest confederation of Shihuh sheiks chose Muscat. They chose Oman. A decision made in one room quietly decided the shape of a modern border. And just like that, on paper, a line was drawn that almost nobody would question again for the next 50 years. In 1971, the neighboring sheikdoms formally united into the United Arab Emirates. Oman had a choice: fight for a connecting strip of land, or let the peninsula stay disconnected. Oman chose to let it stay disconnected. What mattered was not the land bridge. It was what the peninsula looked out over. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrowest passage between the Gulf and the open ocean, and one of the most watched stretches of water on Earth. Today, to reach the peninsula, you cross a real international border twice, even though you never leave your own country's territory. The nested piece inside a piece is called Madha. 75 square kilometers, entirely surrounded by the UAE, its own farmers' working fields split by an invisible line. And inside Madha sits Nawa, a village that belongs to neither Oman nor the wider UAE, but specifically to the Emirate of Sharjah. Its children attend Omani schools. Their parents can hold Emirati government jobs. 2 currencies, 2 legal systems, 1 village. From Musandam's northern tip, on a clear day, you can see Iran across the water. At the narrowest point, it is barely 55 kilometers away. This narrow gap carries an enormous share of the world's seaborne oil trade, which is exactly why a rocky, sparsely populated peninsula still matters this much. Qasab is the region's capital today, but it remains small, a town that still leans on the sea the way it always has. But the most isolated place in Musandam is not reachable by road at all. Kumzar sits at the very tip of the peninsula, and the only way in is by boat. And the people of Kumzar speak a language found nowhere else on the entire Arabian Peninsula. It is called Kumzari, a hybrid tongue blending ancient Persian roots with Arabic, spoken today by only a few thousand people in the entire world. Strangely, the very same language is spoken by a small community on the other side of the strait, on Larak Island in Iran, a linguistic bridge across a modern political divide. UNESCO now lists Kumzari as severely endangered, as national language policy and modern connectivity slowly pull younger generations towards Standard Arabic. So what does a place like Musandam actually teach us? That borders are rarely drawn by geography alone. They're drawn by loyalty, timing, and what a coastline overlooks. Unlike a river or a mountain range, this border was drawn by which sheikh chose to attend which meeting 50 years ago. And the nested exclaves like Madha and Nawa are not historical footnotes. They're still functioning, everyday administrative reality right now. Musandam is not alone. There are dozens of exclaves and enclaves scattered across the world, each one a leftover decision nobody expected to matter this much later. The neat lines on a map rarely tell the real story of why a place is the way it is. For the people of Kumzar and Nawa, none of this is an abstract puzzle. It is simply where they live, where they raise their children. Musandam remains part of Oman today, cut off but never let go, proof that a country will hold onto a place for what it overlooks, not just what it touches. If you enjoyed this journey to one of the strangest borders on Earth, consider subscribing. There's a lot more of the map left to explore.